A portion of today's show is brought to you by Health Diagnostic Laboratory, Inc.
Welcome back to the broadcast. The American Diabetes Association predicts that in just 6 more years, 1 in 2 adults will be pre-diabetic or actually diabetic, and that is half of the entire population, people. Diabetes is a big deal. We have teamed up with the folks from Health Diagnostic Laboratory to learn more about the testing that they do to help you stay ahead of your health. Welcome back to the show, Boomer Cornwell. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
So I'm well. I had such a great time talking to you last time. You know, this is like we speak the same language. I think preventative health is so important, and the work that you guys are doing there at the lab, the blood panels that you're able to do and the testing, it really helps people. And I think maybe people don't understand the importance of getting your blood tested for something like diabetes.
Well, for something like diabetes, I would absolutely agree with that. One aspect that a lot of people still believe in and can actually see is that cardiovascular disease is still the #1 killer in the United States. I mean, and it doesn't discriminate. It takes out men, it takes out women.
And do you think that is because, as we've heard over and over again, often the first warning sign of having cardiovascular trouble is a heart attack and you're dead?
Well, yeah, and that's what I was going to touch on is so much of it, what makes it so dangerous is the fact that it is asymptomatic. People don't understand, at least half of them don't know, until that event occurs that they are in fact in trouble and they have cardiovascular disease.
I spoke with a cardiologist once who told me that by the time you get to the cardiac surgeon, that the system's kind of failed you at that point, that there's all these tests that can be done to find out ahead of time if you have trouble, and Health Diagnostic Labs is the place you can go for that.
And I would agree with that. I would agree with that because at that point, the idea is management at that point. Let's treat, let's try to manage it, let's try to prevent it from occurring again should you be lucky enough to live through it the first time.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about diabetes because that is very closely related to heart disease for many people.
Yeah.
It's a very serious disease. Type 1, type 2. Can you explain the difference?
Well, the whole difference between type 1 and type 2, insulin resistant versus non-insulin resistant. But what I want to kind of go over is that there's even a couple of other types that we haven't even really talked about. But each type even has subcategories associated with it too. It's a very complex disease, and we're learning a lot more about it. We know a lot more today than we did, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But you and I talked about last week the fact that we're doing a lot of this to ourselves, right? So we see insulin resistance occurring in children in some cases. Diabetes being diagnosed very early. One of the scary things you put up on the TV a second ago was the fact that half of the population may be diabetic in 6 years. That's unbelievable.
So what do we do? I mean, aside from, getting really serious about what we eat and what we put in our bodies, which people still aren't taking seriously, which the FDA finally is banning trans fats, which is good news for all of us, but is a blood test the only way to find out if you have pre-diabetes or diabetes?
Well, it's going to be the most direct way to find out, okay? And the folks at Health Diagnostic Laboratory have developed an entire testing mechanism and algorithm around diabetes specifically because we've learned that it is one of the major culprits in heart disease. And so what they do through the panel that they've developed is they address glycemic control, insulin resistance, beta cell function. In other words, how hard is the pancreas having to work in order to stabilize and regulate insulin levels? And we see in some cases from doing the testing anyway, the lab is going to see that a lot of these markers will elevate years before a traditional lipid panel will ever even show it.
And let's go back to that for a minute because I think that's so important for people to understand, is the work that you were doing there, your technicians and your scientists have developed these kind of customized blood panels, customized screenings, really, where you're looking at, like you said, different markers that doctors don't look at in traditional blood tests. So if you just go to your physician and say you're going for your physical or you're having trouble with something, you go in for a test, they do a very traditional blood panel.
Right.
So in order to dive deeper and really look at some of these markers that are going to show you if you're pre-diabetic or something, you really need to come to a place like this that's going to treat it with kind of a customized look, right?
Right, and the good news there is that more and more providers are getting on board with this kind of idea process that, hey, if they catch something early on, we can prevent it, we can at least maybe stop it in its tracks depending upon how chronic the disease state is. Is it even reversible in some cases?
Interesting.
Remember that, lifestyle, diet, exercise, making good choices, that's going to be well, a little bit easier in some cases, but certainly much less expensive than going after the actual surgeries and the treatments, or in some cases death. I mean, diabetes can cause dementia, stroke, heart attack. We talked about that.
It's so scary. Preventative, preventative, preventative,
Yeah.
right? And I know you're going to come back in the next week or so, a couple weeks.
Yes.
And I'm sort of like, don't take this the wrong way, I'm dreading when you come back, because I know that we're going to get closer to the time where you're going to probably stick me with a needle and take some blood and make me part of this whole thing. But I'm actually really excited for that, though.
Oh, you're going to like it. You're really going to like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We'll go over that here on the air, too. Yeah. You can get more information about the Health Diagnostic Laboratory by going to their website. It's hdlabinc.com. You can also call them at 1-877-4HD-LABS. And like we said, Boomer will be here every Tuesday to talk about your health. We always learn something interesting, and hopefully it gets people at home moving to do something to, you know, ward off disease.
I hope so.
Okay, Boomer, thank you. Up next, once you've found the love of your life, when is the right time to make that all-important introduction to your parents? Is the holiday season maybe the right occasion? We're going to take a look at how to make this idea work in your favor when we come back.